Hi, good morning. Tracy Kanoski here, America's virtual nutritionist and different kind of dietitian. And today we're going to talk about something that nobody ever asks me about, and yet it affects 100% of us on planet Earth. So the mystery topic today is stomach acid. And if you don't have enough, it's called hypochlorhydria, as in low stomach acid, hypo, low. And so we're going to talk about 5 reasons that we need stomach acid. We're going to talk about some of the signs and symptoms of not having enough hydrochloric acid. And for those of you getting older, up in age, especially pay attention, because as we age, we don't produce as much hydrochloric acid. And I'm going to talk about a couple of products on the market that I use just in general when helping people get their health back. So let's start with a little background information and the fact that God didn't give us hydrochloric acid to make us miserable after a spicy or a fatty meal. We have hydrochloric acid for a very specific reason. We need it to help us digest our food. So let's talk about number 1. Let's review the digestive process. We take our food, we put it in our mouth, we chew it, right? It goes down the esophagus, it goes to the stomach, then to the small intestine, then to the large intestine, okay? So when our food hits the stomach, it needs to be acidic there in order to help continue the digestive process. It starts in the mouth with chewing and then it continues. But if we don't have enough acid, several things happen. Opportunistic bugs, if that's what you want to call them, can overgrow. So by having enough stomach acid, yeast can't overgrow, H pylori, E. coli, other potential pathogens. So every day, we're touching our mouth, we're breathing, we're eating, we are ingesting, let's call it just foreign bugs, and they have the opportunity to overgrow. But if it's acidic, they can't. And if you just think about what acid is like, you can understand, I think, that we need our stomach to be acidic. And this opens the gateway to what is called small intestine bacterial or microbial overgrowth, by the way, and I see lots of that in my practice. So low stomach acid opens the door to that because we don't have acid, and now bacteria or yeast or whatever wants to overgrow, and it can. So acid allows us to have a low pH, so things can't overgrow. Reason number 2 is that having good stomach acid helps us digest our food. So I'm talking about being able to get the nutrients out of it. We might be eating king salmon with avocado and blackberries on the side, but if we can't break that down, we're not going to be able to get our protein, fat, and carbs, into their individual little components and cross over into the bloodstream where we need them. So I'm talking about being able to get our minerals, and I'm talking about like zinc, copper, magnesium, calcium, and I'm also talking about things like B12 and folate because we need those. I mean, we need all the vitamins and minerals, and stomach acid helps us break those down. Okay, reason number 3 that we need to have stomach acid is that the stomach acid is actually like a signal or a warning bell to the pancreas that food is coming. So as it hits the stomach and we have stomach acid, and the body's just smart and it sees this food and it says, oh, well, we need to make some acid, right? And then that acid signals the pancreas to produce his digestive enzymes to help us continue to digest the food as it hits the small intestine. So that's reason number 3, because it is a signal. It's a feed-forward system. Reason number 4 is that we need to be able to take our protein, break it down into amino acids so that we can make our neurotransmitters. So conditions like depression are linked to not having enough hydrochloric acid. Reason number 5 is that if we can't break down our food properly and we've just eaten a pork chop, we need that pork chop to be broken down into those amino acids like I was just talking about. But if we can't adequately do that, the pork chop, not the amino acids, gets over into the bloodstream, and guess what that does? That signals the immune system to engage. Of course they're going to come out. They see a foreigner in our bloodstream and it's a pork chop. And believe it or not, we are not supposed to have pork chops in our bloodstream. So now we've engaged the immune system. So autoimmune conditions are linked to people not having enough hydrochloric acid. So let's talk about signs and symptoms that I look for on a medical intake form. Hard compacted stools. If somebody already knows that they have food allergies or sensitivities, if they have really slow motility and they maybe only have a couple bowel movements a week, or maybe they have one a day, but again, it's hard and they're compact and they're not just nice and soft and easy to pass. I also have people report, and I also have people report verbally, and I also have people take pictures of their fingernails. And if they have vertical ridges running lengthwise from the nail bed down to the end of the nail, that's a big signal to me that somebody's not producing enough hydrochloric acid. And then the domino effect is that they're not absorbing their minerals, and that's how you get those ridges on your nails. If they have heartburn or gas, bloating, and if they have an autoimmune disease, those are all things that I can see right in somebody's history. The other thing I'm able to do is order something like the GI Effects from Genova Diagnostics, and it's a stool test, and it tells me if people are malabsorbing their food, if they're not doing a good job with their fat. It has a marker for elastase, which again tells me how they're doing digesting their food. So I can use not only a clinical history, but some laboratory testing to decide if I should put somebody on digestive support. So speaking of digestive support, it ranges from just hydrochloric acid plus pepsin, and you can also get formulas that have the pancreatic enzymes plus pepsin plus HCl, and so they're a broad support, and I use all of them. Just depends on the patient. You've heard me say before, this is individualized medicine, so there really isn't a one-size-fits-all. The last thing I want to have you consider doing is reading a book about hydrochloric acid, because this is just a 6-minute and 37-second video so far. So there's a great book called Why Stomach Acid is Good for You, and it's by Jonathan Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T. He's an MD, and Lane Leonard, who's a PhD. Great book. I highly recommend it for all of you. Again, let's go back to the fact that optimizing GI health is key to optimizing overall health. So I'll put a link to the book on the website, and I'd love to encourage you just to check out my recipes. I think there's about 100 these days. I've got a lot of written articles and a lot of video blogs. So if you're new to learning about me, I'd welcome you to come check out my site. Next week I'll be doing a podcast about predicting autoimmune diseases, and I'll be sure to let you know when that's ready to go too. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon.